What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Mad Ship Robin Hobb live show. How are you guys doing?
Excited.
All right.
Yes.
Yep, Mad Anitha is here. I just realized that.
Yeah, I considered naming myself on brand, and I got too many options, and I couldn't decide. And
Edit name. Oh, I didn't realize I could do that.
Oh boy. But yeah, you guys can introduce yourselves if you want. Everyone knows who everyone is, I assume.
I guess probably so.
But yeah, what were your thoughts on Mad Ship?
It's a very broad
spoiler
question,
free.
Greg.
Yes, I know.
Let's get on with my tabbies.
Are they color coded?
Yes, they are.
Excellent.
Green is character development, blue is story development, orange is quotes, and red is for things that make me angry or will paint.
I like it.
So you use mostly red
For me-
tabs then?
For me, only one tab for things made me angry.
Only one.
Really
Wow.
Only one.
Wow.
I
You're
mean,
obviously
not
very
necessar-
difficult to upset.
Not
There are only
necessarily
four-
angry. Things I hate.
Fair enough.
I only have 4 pink tabs, and they're all in the second half of the book. But I probably could have put some in the first part, but I wasn't like enraged until the satrap thing happened. And
Yeah.
so then I was like, F this.
Okay. Let's start from the beginning.
Yep. So we left off. The Vivacia was taken by Kennet and the slaves, and yeah, and then this news goes back to the main family. You know, Ronica and everyone. And what did you guys? What I don't even have a question, but
Favorite characters in this
Yeah.
book?
sure, favorite characters. Yeah, why not?
Can start with you.
With me? Oh, okay. Oh boy, I don't even know.
And have they changed since the first book? That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Come back to me. Anitha, go ahead. I've got to think.
We can do a spit take on live YouTube.
Okay. Overall thoughts, right?
Sure, overall thoughts is fine.
This
And
one
favorite.
actually I liked. I liked it far better than Ship of Magic. It's not that I did not like Ship of Magic. I had just a couple of problems. It was still 4.5 reader for me, but this is like way over 5 stars. I loved everything about this book. In character development, how they have grown, how they have accepted their roles, how they have accepted what needs to be done, and world building. I think this, I am a character driven reader, but I think this is the first time I loved world building as much as characters, maybe more than that. I did not, not every author can make me fall in love with the background story world building. Here actually everything from okay, I don't want to, is this spoiler free?
Yeah, we're
For
spoiling
now.
Yeah, for a bit.
Okay. Everything from serpents to,
So I just saw your brain go, okay, I can't say that.
Others Island, everything. Rain Wells, including Gemellia, what is happening with the Chalced and potential to civil war. Everything I really liked. And I think everything, world building, characters, plot, all of them are competing with each other in this book. This experience is really elevated for me. I really loved it.
Are we going round robin?
Sure, go around.
Go for it.
I agree with Anita. I loved this book. I think I have the slightly unpopular opinion that I think the Live Ship books are way better than the Farseer trilogy. Not that I don't love Fitz, but I like the fact that we have more points of views in live ship traders. I like the kind of breadth of characters that we have, because you get to see so much more of the world than you do when you're just like in Buckkeep and the Six Duchies. And I love the massive amount of morally gray characters, because I feel like our evil people in Farseer, like Regal, like he's just like a big baddie. There's no gray ground for him. But we have characters like Kenneth who are doing good things, but why is he doing the good things? And like that kind of thing. And I loved meeting new ships, and I loved watching some of our characters grow. I won't talk about that till the spoiler part, but my favorite character, I had a really hard time choosing who my favorite character was, because in book 1 it was Brashen, because he's a cinnamon roll and I loved him. But I really do think Paragon is my favorite. There's just so much to his story that we don't know yet, and I love him. And I also just really love Malta, even though I love to hate her most of the time.
Yeah, Malta definitely takes a step forward, but yeah, she's very hateable as well at times.
Hey, Cait, sorry, go ahead.
Or
I'm sorry,
Derri,
go ahead.
or me.
Well, I mean, it's difficult for me. Obviously, I've read them all so many times. But what Cait was saying, that it's an unpopular opinion that live ships is better, it's kind of not.
Really?
If you're reading in order, people go, Farseer was great and all, but live ships, wow. And really, it's only when you read further into all of the Fitz stories, and Farseer gets better with more context. So Farseer gets lifted up by the later books. But live ships is pretty universally acknowledged as just an astoundingly good trilogy on its own, in or out of Realm of the Elderlings. It's really the only trilogy that does stand out as a standalone trilogy, that works as a standalone trilogy. With Farseer, when you get to the end, you're like, oh, okay. But there's more, which makes it okay. Live ships, you can just finish and you're good. So,
do you not think that the Dragon Quartet or the Rainwilds Quartet is not like a continuation of the story of live ships?
We don't want that. We don't know that is separate. No, we
yeah, I
don't
was just
want
going to
to know
say,
that.
spoiler free.
Yeah,
Spoiler free.
ask it separately.
Brianna, did you mean better, or do you mean better or worse? Because you left out the important word.
The actual word.
And Robin Hobb is a woman. Did you not know that? I don't know if you
Not
know
a lot
that.
of people do.
It's okay.
That was the deliberate choice in the pen name. It could be either gender.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Yeah.
I just know that her name is Megan.
Well, it's actually Margaret.
Better, okay. That you left out the linchpin word, B.
Yeah. It's not that hot of a take. People, if you love Fitz, it's in the top 3, like first equal in the sub-series. But if you don't love Fitz, it's definitely, head and shoulders above everything else in Realm of the Elderlings. It's not that unusual an opinion.
So. I told Evie that on Sprints on Wednesday the other day, and she was like, oh, the horror. I was like, I'm sorry.
But Evie has my heart because she loves Fitz the same way I love Fitz. So it's like, no, good work, Evie. Absolutely.
Favorite character, Derri?
Mine has been Paragon since the very first read-through of Realm of the Elderlings. When I'm talking live ships, Paragon is the character for me. He's just the most interesting, and he's just the most emotionally engaging for me. I really care about Paragon, which is insane because he's a ship.
But we'll talk more about that later. Greg.
Yeah, I think I liked this book more than the first one. I still like this more than the Farseer trilogy. And this one had, I do like the different points of view, and even though none of these characters are like that likable, I think, like I forget where it was in the book. I'm like, who am I rooting for? What are these people doing? But yeah, Paragon's definitely like the easiest to root for, I think. So in that way, he's like a good favorite. Uh, Kenneth, it like accidentally does things that people like while he strives to get power. So, um, so yeah, that is interesting. I feel like eventually people will hate Kenneth. Uh, Eventually, I don't know when, but that will probably be a thing.
One can hope.
One can hope. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Let's see. My favorite character probably. I would say. Uh, I guess Malta. Surprisingly, even though she's the worst, she's also a kid and a product of her environment, and I think in this book like a switch went off in her head where in the first book she's like, I can do what I want and my dad will come and save the day. And now pretty early on she's like, oh, that's not going to happen, so I've got to figure things out on my own, I guess. And yeah, there was a lot of growth for her, so I liked watching that. And and the all the boats are fun as well.
The boats.
The
You know,
boats.
Malta would be very mad at you. She would be very upset to hear you call her a kid.
Yeah,
Very upset.
Whatever.
She's my second favourite, I have to say, because she has real fire to her.
I love her. She's me. It's terrible. I love her.
I do think sometimes that's why some women really connect to Malta. They see themselves as a troubled teenager and think, oh, so much potential, do it right.
Oh, I was terrible. Brianna could probably attest to that. She's known me since 5th grade.
Oh, there you go.
Bratty Malta.
Anitha, who's your favorite?
Okay, that's really tough. I can't decide because I mean, I really like growth in Malta's character. That was there from the beginning. You know, okay, we are still in spoiler free. Uh, when she realized life ship was, taken by pirates, she was willing to, give her jewelry. She was willing to make those sacrifices, though it was tough for her. And uh, 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 though though she took advantage of that information to pursue her own crushes, later she realized what she did. uh, and even at the end, that last chapter, Malta chapter, really I loved it. She became one of my favorite characters in that chapter. I'll not get into details because it's spoiler free, but she realized, she started to understand her grandmother's perspective. She realized she was like, that spoiled brat by looking at that guy. We'll get into it. you know
Yeah.
so she saw her in her grandmother. That perspective, that is really important for growth. Hobb really handled that very well. So Malta has become my favorite, especially in the chapter. Her self awareness, that getting that perspective, that was really well done. And of course, Paragon is very interesting character. That Okay, switching on and off between spoiler free and spoilers.
It's a tricky thing.
It's so hard.
Yeah, yeah. So Paragon is definitely interesting character. The way, his denial into, accepting his future, at the same time when it comes to him, when he can't stop what's happening, his realization of what's happening, and his the way he processed it, the way he accepted it, and started cooperating. That was really well done. And I see that Kenneth as a, you know very the character which helps the plot, or which a fascinating character, but I can never like him. You know, I'm not sure. Even in the last Ship of Magic live show I mentioned, I saw Kenneth as a monster rather than Kyle. You know, Kyle is definitely a monster, but he's a known monster. We know what to expect.
Mm.
I am prepared for that kind of behavior. But Kenneth, I don't know what is coming at me. So that always scares me more. So Kenneth is always going to be a bigger monster for me, because I'm not I can't, I mean, I'm not that smart. I'm very naive person. So it always takes me by surprise. So that kind of manipulation always scares me more.
It
So
is
I
frightening.
appreciate the fascinating character of him, but I cannot like him.
I agree. Also,
And
intelligence and naivety are not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same.
sorry.
You're very smart.
Very.
No. Okay.
I agree with the Kenneth thing
Uh,
though. Like, I love him as a character because of how intricate he is, and you see all of the little facets in his onion layers, and you start to see them, like his edges fray a bit as the book goes on. But I still, like, as a person, I hate him like so much. I can't, and I know, Bridget, that you love him so much. I just, he makes me so angry the way that he treats Wintrow, especially the way he treats Etta. Like, and I love Etta. Etta is just like, I love how she takes all the crap he gives her and like puts it in a good direction, in a different direction.
Oh yeah, she's good at not letting it hurt her. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, just brushing that off. I know that's not who I am," and
She's a very
she's
resilient person.
powerful. Mm.
Bridget, I understand what you are saying. I mean, I just, for fun, I fight with you, but I understand you. And Channing, we are enemies now. Okay,
No, Kenneth is
I'll
a
get back
fascinating
to
character.
I'll get
Yes.
back to other characters later. You guys go ahead.
Sure. Um, yeah, one character we didn't talk about is Sorella in the Satrap, which is a new character here. But it's like the first chapter, I think, or one of the first
Yeah.
chapters where we meet her. I thought she was great. The Satrap is kind of there's like different centers of power. So the Satrap
Mm.
is like Kennet, but for I don't know the big cities, whereas Kennet is like the tyrant in the countryside, I guess.
He tries to be a tyrant.
Yeah,
He's
kind of.
not smart enough to be a tyrant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
He's
the
a bit-
Satrap, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
He just like throws little temper
Actually,
tantrums like a toddler.
Mm.
Actually, I listened to audiobook while reading physical book. The way a narrator did his voice, it felt like a kid. So every
Yeah.
time he talked, of course, what he did to Cyrilla, it was horrible. But other than that, if we exclude that, everything else, whenever I listened to his character, he felt like a kid. I ended up pitying him.
I hate
Yeah,
him.
I
I
actually
read.
see where you're coming from with that, because there's a sense of, if his father had lived longer, he would have sheltered and taught the satrap to be a better person. But when he was lost and the satrap was young, the people around him, rather than nurturing, good leadership in him, just took advantage and just never gave him
Yes,
a
yes.
situation to be a strong leader in. And so he's
We
never
can do.
even been, the potential in him was never even seen, let alone fed. So, yeah, he is a
we can
tragedy.
draw parallels between we can draw parallels between Satrap and Malta, in my opinion. Satrap, when he has to take control, when he has to rise to the occasion, or Chalcidians and other politicians in Gemelia manipulated him and make him get addicted to drugs and took advantage of his vulnerability. I agree with Derry in that. I think, I mean, it was just unfortunate, but what he did, I cannot forgive him.
No.
Yes, he is a.
Yeah.
What were you
Words
gonna
we're not
say?
allowed to say online.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You were gonna say
Cirilla was in the hard spot of being the only one to tell him no at times and challenge him in any way.
I think the satrap, I can see that the satrap is a bit of a mirror for Malta, but the satrap is like Malta if she never grows up.
Yeah.
Because she
Yeah.
hasn't done anything nearly as horrible as what he has done. In
No,
that
but I think the parallel is a lot in the selfishness
Mhm.
and not thinking of others. And I think if hardship had never come to Malta, she will have become somebody as unthinking about the suffering of other people. It's literally only since she's now at the bottom of the pile that she's seeing that, oh, those decisions have repercussions, and the things I'm not liking in the companion of the satrap that I'm looking at are the things that I did. So I have to stop doing that. And without that situation, she would never have reached that conclusion. So I think I think it's a really good parallel. You know, did you actually get hit with reality or not?
And she would have continued to manipulate all of the men around her. I mean,
Yeah.
she even tries to do it to some of the other characters we care about.
Yeah, she's
and she
still
just has-
doing it. It's a tool in her toolbox, and
Men are just
Yeah.
pawns in her game of chess.
all the while I'm only now realizing that pawns can still win the game and they have more power than you realize.
Yes. Yes.
So she's learning to be more careful.
I agree. I like Cirilla. I'm interested to see where she goes in the third book because I feel like depending on her choices, she could be a really good character or she could be a really bad character. And that's all I can really say now. But she's learned from what happened to her in the second book. And to be fair, like it was really hard for me to read those chapters. Like I had to take breaks reading that because I was not prepared for the things that Robin Hobb wrote about in this book.
No, I have to say I've got to get better at remembering to sort of let content warnings be known because some truly grim things happen in this book. So
Yeah, this is the grimmest dark of the book so far, I think.
We have not talked about Amber or Wintro yet.
Yes.
Yeah. We will get back to all these our favorite characters.
Yeah.
Wintro
Okay.
was my favorite character in the last book.
Yeah,
He
I love
often
it.
drops off
Can we
the
get
radar.
into spoilers or still spoiler free?
Yeah, why not? We could go into spoilers. I
Yeah,
think
is there
everyone
anything else
here-
we could possibly say that's not spoiler free? Other than read the last book or read this book and then read the last book. Just do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
now
read them.
since it's spoilers, I want to add one point regarding Cirilla. Then we can move on to other characters. You know, I still am not sure whether Cirilla manipulated Rainwild people to instigate the fight from their side first, or did Chalcid people already start as Cirilla claimed? That wasn't clear to me at the end of this book.
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
don't
sure about
know
you.
if it's clear at all either. Because the people just trusted her because I think that they were waiting for a reason to fight back, and this was a reason for them. So that's why I say like she could be really good or she could be really bad. Because is she making that all up to try to like ingratiate herself into the society so she can stay in Bingtown and do her studies and be a part of that? Or does she know something that we don't know? And that's what's going on in the background, because I can't think of many things that Robin Hobb has deliberately hidden from us like that in the story. Like there's obviously stuff we don't know going on, but like this would be like a deliberate bamboozling, you know?
And she tends not to do that. The clues are always there in front of your face. You just don't know you're looking at them. in this
That
instance.
make me feel dumb, Derri.
No, but this is the thing, you don't see them until the reread, which is where I've got the advantage over new readers.
Yeah, something got spoiled for me, and I can see it throughout the books. And it's kind of, I wish I hadn't known, but it's also kind of fun picking out all the little bits.
Yeah,
And hi,
and watching
Charlotte.
but will you watch how many people haven't seen it yet and are wondering, and you watch how long it can take somebody. So yeah, don't feel silly for missing anything in a Hobb book. But when you consider the satrap is at a ball that's been planned, and that's a big event with a lot of people. So whether or not they've been prompted, both sides of this particular little conflict, this civil disruption, have an event that is a moment that works to kick things off. That neither of them are aware of the other doesn't matter. One of them was going to go on the night of the ball. The fact that both did has turned it into the much greater conflict than it would have been otherwise. So, yeah.
I just want to add one point to Bridget's comment here. I am not so sure, Bridget, because Malta did not get that kind of power and control. I mean, I'm not sure how she would have behaved if she has all the money and power in the world. So I'm not so sure about that.
There's a
I'm not
streak of
saying
nasty,
that.
there's a streak of nasty in Malta. She can be quite vicious, and you see it in her pettiness to her friend Dello, and where it's like, this little girl's just trying to be your friend, and you're genuinely being mean. So I think there is cruelty in Malta, and if the situation doesn't do something about that, that's not going to go away. So.
And the way she treats Dello's brother, the way she treats her mother and her grandmother, the way she treats Althea. I think the only person she hasn't honestly been cruel to is probably her little brother and her father. She's just
Charlotte, we are talking spoilers. I suggest you to leave. Yes, Cait, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. My brain isn't working. I want to talk about Paragon. So when we get to Paragon, I will.
Fair enough.
Let's jump to all characters. So we missed Amber, Wintro, Althea, Brashen, Paragon, everyone. Go ahead, Cait.
Okay, because you said Brashen, I love Brashen. I ship Brashen and Althea. I ship them so hard, and Greg can just go and be boring somewhere else because he's so boring. Greg, not Greg. Sorry, Greg. Greg.
Bye, guys.
Don't feel bad, Greg. Kyle is very active in a lot of Discords, and he's only just started to read Live Ships. And he's like, okay, now I get why everyone hates Kyle. You hate your parents a little bit today.
So Derri and I have had this conversation before about all the men in the books and how almost all of them are just misogynistic to some degree, even the ones we're supposed to love, like Rain. You see it in the way that he talks to Malta occasionally, and then he tries to apologize because he doesn't know why it's upset her. But yeah, all of them kind of suck, even Wintro a little bit when it comes to their relationships with women and how they view them. And I love this theme in this book about women and their place in society and whether or not they can fight against what has been prescribed for them. And you see it in all different ways because Althea's doing it in one way, Malta's doing it another way, Etta and Cyrilla, and even Keffria, because I am ready for Keffria the spy. I'm so ready for this. I want her to have her time in the spotlight.
But she's been the poster child for it because she can do all of those things, and she says it to herself. I want to be Keffria, not somebody's daughter or somebody's wife or somebody's mother. There's roles that I've been given. I want to just be me, and that's something that so many of the women in the story have claimed for themselves and are getting that pushback for. So Keffria takes beautiful sort of path there.
I'm ready for her to see Kyle again, because I know like another theme is abuse throughout the book series.
Oh, yeah.
And Keffria is a victim of domestic abuse, domestic violence with her husband, especially a lot of emotional abuse from Kyle and verbal abuse. And she has had a lot of the, I don't want to say typical, but the reactions to the abuse that you commonly see in women. And I just want her to stand up to Kyle so badly, and I want to see her tell him to like F off, and like just I want to see that. So I don't know if we will, but I really want to. It'll be really gratifying for that.
Yeah.
Greg, you go ahead. I have a long thing to talk about all these characters. You finish your first.
Oh boy.
Get a word in edgewise while you can.
Yeah, Keffria, I'll see. We'll see where she goes. But yeah, she's definitely she's like the Fitz of this book, where Fitz like never went anywhere for the most part, and then Keffria's mostly just at her house. And so yeah, it'll be interesting when she has to do something, and then she can use maybe her shelteredness to be a good spy, because you know, a lot of people see like Bingtown people and you know, like women as lesser, so she, I don't know, that she could use to like play into her like incompetence if she does something bad as a spy, I guess, or at least like the people's perceptions of her. But yeah, I think she'll be like good at being a spy, because she's got like a lot of like learned behaviors of like blending in and like being, I don't know, deferring to everyone else. And so yeah, that'll be interesting. Paragon, it's funny because at one point I thought, man, this sounds like one of my conspiracies. Paragon is two different dragons. Like
He is. And the dissociative identity disorder that I've been talking about since the beginning of the first book, like it's like he actually has it, because he is two things in one. And you add all of this abuse and trauma that he has felt, and all of the people who have died on his like deck, and their parts of them have been absorbed into him, just like they're happening to Vivacia, changing him. Like he has this ultimate confusion inside of him of who he is, and now that he's starting to remember, and like knows that he's a serpent and knows that he's going to become a dragon, or he could have, and he's been like destroyed for the most part. Like this guy has got to have, he needs some therapy, he needs ship therapy.
He does need ship therapy. Something to keep in mind there too, with him being made of planks from two different wizardwood logs, from two different dragon
cocoons
wood things, is when people have died on his decks and have been absorbed into that wood, they're being absorbed into one or the other of these identities. So even those two identities are changing at different stages, that they've got different absorbed memories, so their personalities become even more different. And yeah, just keep that in mind.
I have massive
He's a messed up weed, man.
I have theories about Paragon, theories about him. And my theory is that, you know how the 7-pointed star is carved into his chest? The 7-pointed star was Urgot the Terrible's like sign, symbol. And we know that Kenneth was taken by Urgot the Terrible. So Kenneth has been on Paragon. And so I'm so intrigued to see what happens when they inevitably meet, because it's going to happen. And is Paragon going to be like angry? I feel like it's not going to happen until like Kenneth's going to have to step on Paragon, because Paragon can't see. And so I don't know how that reaction is going to happen, but my thought process is that they're going to go after this treasure thing. And I want there to be a treasure hunt so badly, but I don't know if it's like too cheesy or not for Robin Hobb. But I love how all of it's connecting, and I just want to give Paragon a big hug.
Oh, so much.
And I love that I realized this earlier while we were talking, that they use his blindness to create this vulnerability in him that makes all of the trauma and all of the sad, horrible things that people are doing to him right now, like when his family rebuked him, and when he's finally going to be out on the water again and feeling unstable, like the blindness just adds so much more vulnerability to all of the stuff that he's going through. And I love him. And I'm sorry, Greg, did I completely cut you off?
I don't know.
It's okay, Greg. You finish now. It's okay.
I have lots of Paragon thoughts. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I don't know.
You have the power here. You can mute us all, Greg.
You can get
actually
rid of me.
it's my turn to talk.
This is the Greg show. Yeah.
Oh my god, I have tears.
It's funny. It was funny hearing the Rainwilders like behind closed doors admit like, oh, we used 2 different logs for Paragon. That was a mistake. And like I forget how they worded it exactly, but it was pretty explicit. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then the theory with the stars, I remember, or like the 7-pointed star, I remember you guys talking about in Discord, and I would have completely missed that, I think. So I have no thoughts. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of like things that are alluded to, especially with Paragon, but just generally in this book about what's going on and like and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's and this is why I say it's Robin Hobb doesn't go out of her way to hide things. It's all on the page, and whether you pick it up or not will impact how much you see coming. Because there's a lot there. And you know, some people are catching some things and some people are catching other things, and yeah, and all of them are being surprised by the things they didn't catch. It's it's all there.
I almost forgot in whose perspective we got this mixed log thing. Can you please remind me that?
I'm looking at it on the Discord. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I remember that mixed log thing, but I don't remember how we got that information.
Chapter 17. Because I got it, I'm gonna find it. So keep talking.
I think it was alluded to maybe twice. And I think it was first like on the Paragon where it was like soft, like alluded to, I guess. Like not explicitly, but with Amber and Brashen and stuff. And then in the Rainwilds, one of the conversations with whatever his name is, like the family,
Rain's brother, who's
Rain, Kupro's family, Rain, yeah.
Yeah, and
the mother.
yeah, and his mom, like his brother and his mom, I think we're talking about it, and it was probably in a conversation about the last Wizard Woodlog and how like, oh, we got to be like careful. This is the last one. That was also alluded to a lot, and yeah, that log being a dragon and stuff like that. Yeah.
The first time you hear about the pirates and the possibility with Paragon, it's Paragon's telling you, he's like going into his memories and has like a flash of lucidity and talks about it. The worst part is they leave you to live.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm trying to find the part where I talk about the multiple wood though.
I think it somewhere near when Paragon saw the serpent, he recollected something. I mean, somewhere around that, as far as I can remember. Anyway, before I forget, I want to. I'm sorry, Greg. Are you done?
Yeah.
Because Channing, obviously he loves you, so he's ready for you to mute all of us. Rude, rude Channing. Anyway,
I just ruined something for myself looking for this. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep talking.
But it's in the book. So what did you miss?
It's who Paragon was carved to look like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
no,
which I'm
no,
not going to
no,
say.
no,
I'm not
no.
saying.
Why did you look at Ship of Destiny? Where
I
did you look at?
Anyway,
Anyway,
I was trying to figure out where it says the thing.
okay. Before I forget, I wanted to talk about what Cait said about misogyny, about
Yes.
whole world.
Yeah.
You know, I had this feeling actually initially when I was reading Assassin's Apprentice. I talked about it in my wrap up also, that how it reminded me of the stories I read in during my childhood. That's when I thought whether Hobb read something from my world, or my stories, or my stories, what I read, those stories copied from something original text somewhere. And again, I got the same feeling whether whether Hobb lived in India, because the world is so close to the place where I was raised. All that, women covering themselves, women not to talk to men, all I we were raised like that. We were raised in a place like that. We were raised in culture like that. It reminded me so much of my upbringing, everything, every conversation. That's also one of the reasons I love this so much. Kate was talking about, all men has misogyny. Even women has that, because they were raised in that kind of you know culture from the beginning. They haven't seen, suppose look at Kefria. Even Kefria was like that. He was She was little, I don't know, for lack of better word, subservient. And Althea's behavior was completely inappropriate to her. uh, that is so relatable to me, because as a kid, not as a kid, as a teen, I'm not sure how many of you know about our Indian dresses. Salwar kameez, we used to say, we used to wear dupatta and all. Okay, I'll send pictures later in the chat. Um, you know, when I was going to, college, when I was 18, there are people like my friends or my cousins who adjusted my dupatta, to cover myself properly, or, to not talk back to men. They corrected me so many times. That's what reminded this world of me. So I really did wonder whether Hob traveled to India or know somebody from there, something like that.
Quite
So
possibly.
I don't, mm, how to put it in better words, I don't hate Kefria. I
Oh,
understand where
no.
she's coming
Mm.
from. uh, you know Most of the times it's not because they're bad or something. It's because their lack of knowledge, lack of perspective scares them. Althea's behavior was alien to her. She did not see any other person who is progressive or modern. So, and that's what all Kefria knew was her parents, her home. That's all she knew. See, that's why even Kefria, when she supports Kyle, it's not because she thinks Kyle is a good person. She knows, she recognizes Kyle's abusive, emotionally abusive behavior, narcissistic behavior. She recognizes that, but she cannot bring herself to hate him, because he's the father of her children, and he loved her, at least in her perspective, at least as far as we can see, until the end, until the death of her father. Kyle did not treat her bad. So I see, I can understand, I can empathize with Kefria. So everything Altia does is foreign to her. The more she sees, the more she sees the world of other people. If she can travel more,
Mm.
she can be a better person. She can understand, okay, other people can exist, other people talk like that or behave like that, dress like that. Um, so I'm ranting, I'm going on tangent. Okay.
I want
Uh,
Kefria and Molly to be friends.
That
I think that they would be
would be a
friends.
friendship that worked, I think.
So
No.
Okay, so even conversations between Althea and Amber, I can relate to them. Exact dialogues we talked because we have other Indian with attire called sari. I'm not sure that is a very traditional Indian attire. Althea and Amber were talking about how Althea has to wear gowns like women. She's not supposed to wear all those trousers and all. Those conversations reminded me of that. And they talked about why Alta has to give up what she wants
Mm.
when if she marries Greg. All those conversations, we talked that literally in same dialogues. So I can relate to those characters, I can relate to what they're thinking very closely. um, what else?
Well, I think
I
that's why
think,
it works because it is real. And this is why
yeah.
Hobb is so successful at writing characters. She's not pulling these things out of thin air. These are things that happen, and these are conversations that exist, and these are behaviors that we inflict on each other, intentionally or not, that have repercussions. And Hobb does it in such a way that we notice it. And because how many times would you have thought, just off the top of your head, I grew up in a really misogynistic culture? It's not the sort of thought that you have for yourself just off the cuff. But when you read it, you're able to take that step back and go, yeah, that's actually really bad.
I wish I could say that in America. It's a little different right now. There's a lot of thoughts of misogyny and stuff, but
Well,
I really like hearing you talk about
I
how you relate to the story, Anitha, because I think sometimes when I am reading, I'm just thinking about how I relate in my personal life, but the way I relate is so different than you do because you grew up in a different culture. And I just find that fascinating. So thank you for sharing because I loved hearing that.
yeah, thank you for that.
That's also actually that is a very good point, Kate. I thank you for bringing this up. That's also the reason I don't hate. That's also the reason I don't hate Greg Tenera. Greg or Greg, sorry, Greg Tenera.
Every time I read Greg too, and I had to correct myself. Greg,
Okay,
you're not
because
You are
boring.
nothing like Greg.
You're better than Greg.
because I
Way
don't
better.
I don't see him as a bad person. The way he was raised, the culture he grew up with, in that culture, he is actually a good person. At least that's what I believe. I think the more they see, the more other cultures are introduced to their city. They learn. I think I don't mind giving them that benefit of doubt to all these characters, except of course
I
Kyle
agree.
and Kenneth. They're different.
But I mean, when I say that Greg is an example of benevolent misogyny, I don't say that he's going out of his way to be that. He is the gentlest form of misogyny. He's trying to do better. It doesn't take away the misogyny, and it annoys me as a relatively modern woman that he still doesn't see that his behavior isn't okay. But he's certainly trying harder than anybody else, and he gets points for that. But he's not the man for Althea.
Well, you can see
Yeah,
it
that's
when
for sure.
you can see it when
And
she visits him and breaks up with him. Like
Yeah.
you think that he's like this nice guy, and then he does like the hidden not so nice guy thing where when she breaks up with him, he gets nasty with her. And that's when you see like true colors of a person, because if he really was like the kind, nice person that we thought he was, then he would have taken that with some grace, or at least not been like outwardly nasty. Like, you're allowed to be upset. Well, you're allowed to act however you want to, but like, he didn't have to be nasty to her, and he was, at least a bit. So
Quite a bit.
Okay, Bridget, initially I really hated Ronica. I mean, in the beginning of Ship of Magic, but the more I read, the more I understand her perspective. It is, I really hate her for giving the ship to, Kyle, but her argument is not exactly wrong. I understand her argument. She wants to keep all properties in under one name so that they can support as a family. That argument is definitely solid. Yeah, of course, irrespective of that, I still hate that ship went to Kyle. I i and also I think it's Kefria's choice to stay home. She does not want to do take care of finances like her mother. She chose to uh, you know uh, be a housewife. I respect that choice. I don't exactly hate Ronica for Kefria's
No,
choice, sorry.
no, Ronica, and something to consider here is if her children had been boys, nobody would have batted an eyelid if when the father had left everything to the eldest. Nobody would even consider that unusual. For the people just everywhere that I ever encounter going, but she should have left the ship to Althea. I get why she didn't. It's a perfectly logical decision to me. The fact that her eldest daughter is married to Kyle is the problem because a decent person in that situation would be doing things differently. I think there isn't an at fault person, there is a culture that's created a situation. And that situation is Kefria didn't move out of her mother's home when she got married. So she remained a daughter in her mother's home rather than a woman organising and arranging her own family dealings. So she remained a child in her mother's home, even though she's a woman with children and a husband. And then the boys that existed between Kefria and Althea died of the blood fever that they think came from the rain wilds. And so now this big hearty man who's been taking his sons off sailing doesn't have sons, but he's a little tomboy
Yeah.
girl. So obviously Althea takes that space, but by which time Kefria is the princess at home. And so those roles kind of grew around them rather than anybody making a decision that that was what was going to happen. So nobody's to blame, but the situation was there. And Kyle is the fly in that ointment.
I feel like what Bridget was talking about, what you guys were just talking about, really highlights kind of the change in Bingtown society since it was formed to where it is now. Because when it was formed, it was this group of people who were breaking off from the thing that they had known and were creating this new homestead in this place that was supposedly dangerous. And they made their own little community where everyone had like agency. The women had power along with the men. And you think about how like Vivacia was bought by her it was a great grandmother or great great grandmother, but this powerful woman who like took her sailing and all this sorts of stuff. And then as there was more influence from Jamilia, if that's how you're supposed to say it, and the Chalcids and all of these other places where we're getting the fashions from and we're getting all these fancy things from, you can see the society start to shift to more of a women stay in the home and the debutante thing and all that sorts of stuff. And Althea is trying to bring it back. And even Ronica, she has like the power at home, like when her husband is off sailing, she is the one organizing everything. She has all this responsibility, but no actual power in the eyes of the law. So, you can kind of see how it's starting to fall down, and then Althea's trying to bring it back, if that makes any sense.
I see it paralleled.
Greg, do you have thoughts?
I'm sorry. I should let you talk occasionally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what's being said about like women in the society and specifically in the Veronica household. Yeah, it's kind of weird because the foreign culture of women staying at home, or at least in this world, that's like a foreign culture to Bingtown, has completely consumed like the old culture of the great grandma buying the ship and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting because there was still like that sort of like manipulation and coercion in the culture before, like to get a live ship and to become a live ship trader family, you kind of had to sell your soul, or not really, but you had to um, dedicate your life to traveling around with the ship, and then even where you went, it was like pretty. It wasn't explicitly regulated, but you basically had to go up the river a lot to be able to pay off the ship that you had like a huge loan on, and now that coercion has um I don't know, I guess like the men in the society have have like taken that coercion on their shoulders, and and then they're like higher on the pyramid, I guess, than women in terms of like like uh what they have to deal with, or whatever. I'm not explaining this well, but like they I don't know, they use the I don't know if they use that as an excuse necessarily, but they use that as like a justification for their sort of like uh, oppressing of women. And in terms of like there's definitely a generational gap in terms of like Veronica, and then the mother of Greg, whatever.
Greg.
Like, yes,
Mama
the mother
Julia.
of Greg. They're like very outspoken, and they like push for what they want and stuff. And then, but then there's been like a learned behavior in society where like the younger women, like um they like let the men in society walk all over them because they don't have options. They can't go on ships, they can't really travel, they can't really do all this other stuff. And yeah, that I don't know, it's and like the women in the society of like the previous generation don't like realize that's kind of what's happening, um or to the extent that they do realize it, they can't really do much about it
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a whole societal thing rather than like just one household, or just Kefria, or just Greg or whoever.
You see it with Bello, and she's just happy to be a part of it because she doesn't know any better.
I see it as more of Hobbes' take on capitalism, because the way that Malta and Kyle both talk about it is only poor women work. Wealthy women get to stay home and be housewives. And so you don't want your daughters to have menial jobs. You don't want your daughters doing the accounts, because that means you can't afford to pay somebody to do it. So having this pampered, we're not going to say constricted, we'll say pampered daughter, is a sign of being a good trader. It's a sign of being a wise traveler. It's a symbol of your superiority as the head of your household, as a rich person, and that tends to be the men because they're off sailing. And even that's not a deliberate piece of misogyny in an area where the Rainwilds and Bingtown women struggle so much to bear a child to term. And on the rare occasion they do, even then it may not be a viable child. So there's a risk to letting your women go out sailing for your culture to even survive. You need to have people.
Which is why you have the blood debt with the Rainwilds. Right. Because you may not be selling your soul when you get a live ship, but when you commission a live ship, you're selling your possible children or grandchildren or any of your family line until you have it paid off. But it's just
a very fairy tale thing.
I have a theory about the children with the stuff, and the theory is because I am sus about everything in this book. Hobb and Sanderson, I'm sus about everything that happens, so I tab them all. So we see Rain, and Rain is fairly unmarred compared to a lot of other people in the Rainwilds, because if he looks the way that he looked in her dream, which I think that he has to, I think he does. He doesn't look as disfigured. He looks rather, normal, for lack of a better term. And in the book, there's like a bump or something on the back of Malta's head or neck or something that she can't explain, and they don't mention it again. But my wonder is, are there children who look normal and then as they age they start showing all of the weird traits that the Rainwilders have, like the bumps and the horns or whatever? I don't exactly know what they look like, but they're just like disfigured in some way. So I'm wondering if she's one of those children but they didn't know, and that she's going to be like either affected by the magic, like the elderling magic that's up in the Rainwilds, or if she's just like growing into this thing that she already had in her genetics, because I feel like it has to be some sort of genetic thing. Because didn't Kefria have a child that was like that? And her father refused to go up the Rainwild, so it's not like they were exposed to that kind of magic really, or he brought anything back for them because he refused to go up the Rainwild. So it has to be like genetic somehow. Anyway, that's my
I'm not sure it is there from the beginning. I think when the dragon Tantalagia, when the dragon entered Malta's dream through Rain, I think the dragon marked her. That's how I understood.
You think they're responsible for the disfiguring in some way? Do you think that's like the magic of the dragons is responsible for the like disfiguration of the Rainwilds people? Could it be like some curse for keeping them like captive or something?
It could be exposure to that land. It could be exposure to the Wizardwood logs, or it is simply a curse. I am not sure. But when it comes to Malta, I think the dragon marked her. I think that's when she got that bump in the neck, and I think that's why she is able to see those lights in those caves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like she can turn the Jizden on like much, like at a higher extent and stuff than anyone else really. I know we were talking about capitalism, and I wanted to talk more about capitalism and imperialism, but then we started talking about the dragons. And do we think
how many conversations have that sentence in it?
Oh, do you the reverse toxic, like a nuclear power plant? I mean, it could kind of be like that.
That's a good argument.
Mm-hmm. That could be true. I want to know why the river gets white like that. Like, I know there was like a volcanic eruption, and that's what caused like the city to get encased in all of that like dirt and rubble and things, and they can even feel like the tectonic shifting down in Bingtown. So like, is there going to be another explosion? Is the volcano like gonna wake up or something? Like, how long has it been since that happened? Like, that's what I want to know, is how long, and how long have the dragons been stuck under there? And do do they actually know? Like, do the Rain Wilds people know and they're just hiding it from people so to get money? This is where capitalism comes in again. So, like, Rain's mom and brother, like, they like refuse to listen to him with all that stuff, and they don't seem to care. But when they cut open the logs, apparently, like, the lifeless body of the baby dragon falls out of it, which made me cry, let me tell you. So, like, do they know that they could let them live, that there's a way to take them out, and they just don't care because it makes them too much money? Or what? Capitalism, slavery for dragons, slavery for humans, all of the things.
Just purely
I
for
think it's
intellectual
more-
sake, I want to just say that when they find the body inside the cocoon, not knowing how it formed a cocoon, how would they help them? How would they hatch them? They don't know how to do that. As far as they know, these things are completely dead, and that they're unaware that this is a life they could actually help.
But if the other people who go mad from the memories, I mean, why wouldn't the dragons have told them, like Tintaglia was telling Rain and Malta? Like, her husband, like, his father found out, like.
Yeah, but
I don't think they were as coherent as Rain's connection with the dragon or Rain's memories. They weren't that coherent. I think they immediately after turning mad, immediately after listening to the dragons, I think they turned mad. See, when Jani Kurpus woke up Rain, when Rain was talking, she mentions that, okay, he's talking, that means he did not go mad completely. That's how she responded. So I think those people who turned mad immediately completely turned mad and passed away. I think that's why that knowledge did not pass down.
I actually think it is capitalism again, because Jani makes a point of saying that Rain is their best excavator. He's the best one for finding the artifacts, and so they keep sending him down there even though they know he's hearing the voices. Whereas in previous generations, when there was more to find, the minute people would show signs of the dragon madness, they weren't allowed to return. Whereas Rain has been going and returning so frequently, he could very well be the very first person who's actually created a conversation with a live being. So I come back to, they would have no clue how to, hatch a dragon. So while I'm not saying they're blameless, because they're clearly not, they know they're killing something, there is an element of, well, what were they supposed to do with no clue of how to fix this? And there
is a lack of knowledge there.
In the ground. They're not finding them on a beach, they're finding them in the ground. So yeah, there's a point to which I can forgive it.
Yeah. Are they being
definitely they definitely did not stop themselves from doing that when they found out that they're finding the dead dragons. That is definitely capitalism. But at the same time, I think if they had not that knowledge, they would have done it. I think so.
Go ahead, Greg.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, are they being willfully ignorant and just pretending, or they like, maybe they know they're like living, they don't really know, but they don't care because they can just make the boats, and they could maybe find out whether or not, like, them taking stuff from the ground is harmful to themselves or other people or dragons.
I think it's also because of the necessity of that survival, because they need those life ships to travel to mainland and get for trading and all. They're not completely blameless. They did not even try to get that knowledge. So yes, there is an argument that they're not completely good.
It's that shades of gray.
Yeah. I find that they don't, what makes me angry, and like one of the things I love in books is when there's like an ancient civilization that we don't know anything about, and like we see where they lived and there's all these hidden things and you have to like find out their secrets and stuff. Like, I loved that. I loved everything. Like, every minute we learned something about the Rainwilds and the Elderlings, I was like, I want to know more. But what made me mad is that it seems like the Rainwilds traders, like, they have no respect for the history or the, like, things that they could learn from the city or for the culture that they, like, are living on top of. And all they're doing is they're taking things to sell them, which means they're kind of like a scavenger people. Like, they're not, like, I feel like the people of Bingtown and the surrounding areas, like the Rainwilds traders are this like mythological sort of like, ooh, we don't really know much about them. They're mysterious, but they're really not, they don't really have that much of their own culture. They're a scavenger. They don't make their own things. They just take it and sell it. And that makes me angry. I don't like them as much as I thought that I would, as like a whole. But I think their like forest houses are cool. Like, I just picture Lothlorien the whole time. So
Okay, before getting into dragons and serpents and all that
Salmon.
world building intrigue, I
what did
want
you
to
say, Greg?
Salmon.
salmon. Yes.
Salmon. Okay.
I want to finish off talking about characters. I want to finish off talking about Rain, Selden, and Wintro before getting into intrigue of world building.
We didn't talk about Amber either.
Sorry,
Amber.
Oh yeah, Amber.
We didn't talk
sorry.
about Amber either.
That is for I kept it for last. Amber the fool theory for last for me. Anyway, I when Hobb was talking about Selden in this book, I was like, okay, so Hobb completely forgot about Selden in Ship of Magic. She's at least acknowledging he existed in this book. But last few chapters, oh my god, I really, I mean, the minute they entered Rainwales, I fell in love with Selden. He's so cute. But the last couple of chapters, when Rain and Selden got into trouble, both the times, Selden was the one to came up with the how to escape plan. Whether to dive, under the what is that ceiling roof, to save themselves from mudslide and to climb up the roof. Both the times, Selden is the one who came up with that escape plan. I really like that. I mean, I like the development. That's the best part with the Hobb. She really develops small characters also. Every character there is some growth. I'm really looking forward to read more of him in next book. And coming to Rain, when it came to, you know, now I don't want to say that after what Cait said about Rainwell people, but still I think Rain is definitely a better person. He's at least what we have seen, he's one of the first who talked about fighting against satraps policies, his tax policies. He is ready to start that fight. He is the first one. Of course he has that knowledge, but he is the first one who talked about saving those dragons. So I really like that part. But when it comes to Malta in his dreams, how he talks to her, knowing Malta's age, he definitely made me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course I understand for his culture, for his world, that Malta's age is quite normal, for marriage and all. But for me to read, it definitely was awkward for me. Also, the way he talks, to possess her and all, it was too intense for my liking. But uh, you know, I really liked the way he cares about her. Even Malta recognizes that his father never apologizes but Rain apologized to her. She recognized that, and that's when she started caring for him. I really like that. How Hobb, developed that affection in Malta, through that scene. And somebody else, I think that's all for me from that side.
I agree.
You
Rain
guys.
is like a good one. Rain is the good one. Like, he doesn't fall under the umbrella of like all of the Rainwilds traders, because he actually like cares about the place that he visits. And like history there, and he cares about the dragon. He just doesn't know what he can do about it. Like he had no idea how to help her, but she was like torturing him in his head. I agree with him, and Malta have given me like the yucky feels since the first book, especially when you think about the fact that he's like 20 years old and she's like, I don't know if she's 14 yet, but she's like somewhere between 13 and 14, and that's just like yucky. But Selden and Rain are like the dynamic duo. I did not know that I needed so badly, and they're so fun. I want them to be like the dynamic duo in the last book. Like I want them to stay together and get into like mischief and like find things in the city and all that, like as the Ship of Destiny goes on. But speaking of therapy, poor Selden is gonna need some therapy after all of that. Like I just want to give all of the characters therapists. Like they need it. Amber can be everyone's therapist. But yeah, I really like Selden. He's adorable. I'm glad he got his like moment and that he'll be in the story, because I feel like Hobb never has like a character that she just leaves like on the wayside. So yeah, I liked her. Or I liked him.
Cait, go ahead with intro.
Wintro.
Intro.
Wintro gives me confusion feels right now because I love Wintro. And I'm mad. I'm mad at Vivacia. I'm really upset at her. Like, to be honest. I'm mad at her, and I'm mad at Kenneth for turning her into the ship that she is now, because he has done everything intentionally. He like tries to woo her and like plays with her emotions in like a weird romantic way. And because she's so young and like vulnerable, she's swept up in all of that. And Wintro sees it all. He feels both sides of that. And so he's got to be super confused. And then Kenneth is like throwing this woman at him and trying to like get her to seduce him, and she refuses, which is why I love Etta. Instead, she's like, I'm going to teach you how to fight. And I was like, yes. And so I feel like he does a lot of growing in this book too, because instead of being so adamant on like going back to the monastery and becoming like a priest, like I think seeing what happened to the priest who was a slave kind of changed his view on Sa and what kind of life he wanted, and like the fact that priests are not all that he thought they were. But Wintro, when he like cuts off Kenneth's leg, which we have not talked about yet, surprisingly enough, and like trying to care for other people while trying to care for Vivacia and not feeling like he's supported by her anymore because she's spending all of her time thinking and longing after Kenneth. Like he's in the middle of this weird, it's like a love triangle for lack of a better term, or like a love quadrangle, because you have Etta in love with Kenneth, and Kenneth doesn't like Etta. Kenneth wants her to be with Wintro, and Wintro cares about Vivacia. Vivacia cares about him, but she's like in ship love with Kenneth. And it's just this weird, like, I need one of those like maps with all the strings to like connect everything around him. But he's just like barely hanging on. And I loved when they were in Divvy Town and he finally like stood up and like had this moment where he was like a version of himself that he felt commanding and could like talk to people in a commanding way. I just didn't like that it was to protect Kenneth, because I'm really hoping, like, do you really care about Kenneth? Do you really think that he's doing good things, or are you just trying to stay alive? And I really don't want him to honestly care about Kenneth. But it's also the question of, does Kenneth actually care about Wintro or not? Because it's very confusing, because when they're on the other's island, it's like he's doing everything to like save Wintro, but is he only doing it so Vivacia will be sane still, or is he doing it because he cares? You know, Etta's doing it because she cares, but she cares about him like a brother. Anyway, Wintro's very complicated in this book, and I'm very like, I don't know how to feel about him, because I love him and I see the direction he's going in, but like he makes a lot of mistakes. At least what I would say are mistakes, except for when he rescues the dragon, the serpent, from the other's island, which made me cry as well. So I'm done. Sorry. That was
Why do you think Kenneth took him to Other's Island?
I think Kenneth wanted the others to tell Wintrow that like he was going to be a part of this kingdom that Kenneth was going to be making. Like I think Kenneth was trying to get him to believe him when he said like the others told me this, because I think he was going to confide in Wintrow about the others like prophecy. And so if he took him to the others island and he was given his own prophecy, then maybe he would believe what Kenneth was telling him and then back him as he tries to be like the king of the Pirate Isles. Exactly, Bridget. I'm like, I don't really think he cares about anyone, but you can see the onion layers, the strings fraying around him, where he's like trying not to care, but he kind of does. Like you've already seen it in the first book, the way he treated Etta and everything. There was this tiny little undertone of him like trying to not allow himself to be invested in anything, because that would make him vulnerable. Like he was invested in his family and the island he lived on, and then it was torched by the pirate, and he was a kid who cared, and then Urgot the Terrible like beat the crap out of him and beat any sort of emotion out of him. I don't know. Kenneth is a very interesting character. I want to do like a character analysis on him. I could write a paper on him.
You say things, Greg, because I'm going to go for a minute.
All right.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Yeah, the Wintrow, like the, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like he's kind of trapped in a situation where he has to defer to Kenneth. So I am unsure kind of like what you're saying. Will he kind of like defer to Kenneth forever, or will like Vivacia kind of turn on Kenneth once they realize what Kenneth's going to be doing or whatever? Vivacia seems like she's like fully on board with Kenneth and his plan, and even if Wintrow says something about Kenneth that's like, oh, like maybe he's not a good person, Vivacia like changes the topic to like something else, or like she's like fully team Kenneth. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if like Vivacia sees Althea again or something. And
especially on Paragon.
Yeah. In Paragon, yeah. Or like maybe a different live ship or something. It'll be interesting to see the coming together.
Forgot until you mentioned that too, like when Wintrow and Kenneth and Vivacia all had that moment where they kind of were in each other's memories. Yes. And that might have also ingratiated Wintrow into Kenneth, because he's kind of seen a little bit what happened to him and seen a little bit onto the inside of things that Kenneth doesn't share with other people. Anyway, go ahead.
There's just talking about the whole Wintrow Vivacia Kenneth issue. Wintrow, like everybody else, sees the outside of Kenneth. Only we see inside Kenneth's head. We're the only people who know. Everybody else sees the result of his actions and all of those things, because he's the way he is. They're good things. They're the release of slaves. They're the cleaning up of Derri Town. They're all good things. So Wintrow, as a priest, because whether he says it out loud or not, still believes in his soul that his duty is to help people be their best, to reach their potential. He sees supporting Kenneth as a positive thing, because Kenneth is achieving positive things. Let's bolster this man who is making life better for all of these people. Where I find it entertaining is, I remember talking to you a little while ago, Cait, and saying, I have to remember this when it comes up in the discussion. Yes. And you said you didn't like that Kenneth was turning her into a ship she shouldn't be. And I thought, I have to talk about this later. She's not a ship. She's a dragon. So she's a predator. She's a predator who is now in the keeping of a pirate. And all of those predatory instincts that she is choosing to tap into are more a part of her than this veneer of ladyship that she's been given. She isn't a lovely young woman. She is a predator. She's a dragon. And that is why she's responding so freely to Kenneth, because he's allowing her to be that as much as she can in a physical shape that can't fly. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say to that comment that you made a couple of weeks ago.
He's the Tyrannosaurus
A
Rex of the
wonderful
seas.
point.
Yeah.
That's really a wonderful point. I mean, a new way to look at it. I mean, I really like that. It makes so much sense to me. Anyway, when it comes to Winter and Kenneth bond, if we can call it that, initially I thought Kenneth cared about him at least to connect with Vivesha. He understands that he needs Wintro, to be close to Vivesha. At the same time, I think he also started seeing Wintro as his priest when he becomes king. So initially I thought he cares, but when they were fighting that small mutiny or rebellion in Divi town, when they were about to begin that fighting, Wintro was there with his dagger and Etta was there. Kenneth, as a matter of fact, he thinks that okay, that guy may attack me, maybe the boy beside me and the woman may delay him. He was willing to sacrifice Wintro as just one of his crew member. He did not even care actually. I mean, that's my blue tag. One thing I hated.
Yeah.
that, that was like a new low to me. That really proved just Wintro is also just a pawn. One of the crew members were, I mean, the same when they were attacking slave ships. Some crew members will die, right? Kenneth won't even think about them. Wintro is as equal to him as like that. That incident made me think in that way. And coming to Wintro, you know, initially, I mean, when he sees Vivesha liking Kenneth and the way Kenneth behaves, Wintro did not trust him. But slowly, after seeing slave ships being captured and after seeing, the way everyone loves him, and I think maybe Vivesha's feelings also affected him because he started liking and respecting Kenneth. That really scares me. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, of course, it is coming, Altia, and they are coming to rescue him. I don't know how he responds to that. We will have to see.
Yeah. I wonder
Okay.
when I think about a villain, I always wonder what will make them happy. So, like Kenneth, he's doing all of this to become king of Divvy Town. And he's bringing Wintro with him and, manipulating Wintro and Vivacia all to his own needs, manipulating everyone around him. But he has his mother on that island and he wants to take care of her. I mean, he brought slaves who had a family there to take care of her. And I'm sure there is some sort of ulterior motive. But also, like, what does he want? He wants to become king. Why does he want to be king? What is that going to give him? Is it a sense of security that he never felt because of what happened with the pirates, the other pirates? He certainly doesn't seem to want a family. He certainly doesn't really actually care about the riches. It's not the money that he cares about as a pirate. So why is he doing this? And I wonder if we're going to actually get an answer for that or not, because I'm waiting to figure it out, because right now I don't know. It's just power is the only thing I can think of. But at the end of the day, like, power isn't really enough.
Okay. Before finishing it off, two things. Derry, I'm sorry, you can't add. the theories, not theories, predictions. I mean, along with Serpent Dragon theory, predictions for next book, and Amber the Fool theory. Both Greg and Kate. Derry also can add without spoilers.
I can't talk about the Amber theory because I already know the answer to that. So I will not be talking
Okay.
about Amber. Greg, what do you think about Amber?
Yeah, I heard the theory. I don't know. I heard it after I finished reading pretty much, so I missed it if it is true. I completely didn't catch on, but it does make sense. And then in terms of the great dragon slash salmon theory, yeah, I don't know, like the serpents, the dragons, and stuff. They're probably all related, and yeah, I don't know. Definitely the dragons becoming the live ships. We know now pretty much, and Paragon. We kind of know his situation. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. I don't even know everything that we don't know. Um, Also, yeah, Kenneth is kind. He like fancies himself as like a creator of a new society. So I think that's like his motivations, or that's how I read it as well. And to do that, he needs like power.
Uh, you know that Malkin and the Tangle are traveling to the river, right? Do you think they are near to the river? I mean, they said that if they come across a live ship, they will again, try to get the memories. Do you think they'll come across Paragon or Vivacia?
Oh, I definitely think so. I really don't like, they're talking about eating the ships now, like taking down the ships. And so I'm like, please don't eat Ophelia. Like, she's just happy the way she is. Like, can you just leave her alone? I can see Paragon. I don't know. I don't want anything to happen to Paragon. I could see him in a very epic moment of despair because he's already said, like, I mean, he's pretty much a suicidal ship, for lack of a better term. I could see him wanting in a low point to give himself to the serpents and say, like, take of me. There's nothing else I can do, save me from my misery, sort of thing. But maybe he's not as miserable anymore now that he's sailing again. But I do think they'll get there. Like, I don't think Tintaglia is going to be the last of her kind. And now that She Who Remembers has been released from the Others Island, I love her. I think that she will find them and lead them there. The question is who's going to help them get upstream and save them, because they needed like guides and stuff. And so I wonder if some of the humans, if they can convince like the Rain Wild traders or something to help, because having dragons might benefit them in the city that they live in. But I do think something is going to happen, and the serpents are going to save Wintro from something, because she said, like, you will not be forgotten. Like, we are in your debt. Like, they're going to be there for him if something happens. And I don't know if like Kenneth's going to go down or something, and the serpents will save Wintro from Kenneth if he tries to kill him or something like that. But I do think that, oh, yes, Bridget is true. We didn't really talk about the politics stuff, which I'm surprised, because we have Greg here and we like should talk about the politics
Okay,
stuff.
stick to one theory, please. We'll cover that what she said later. Don't.
I think Tintaglia is going to go to the island and free Kyle. Don't know how she's going to do it, but she made that promise, but it wasn't Malta who freed her. It was Rain who freed her. So I don't know if technically she has to like live out this promise that she made to Malta or not. But I think there's going to be some destruction. Like, there's stuff's going to go down. I mean, she's a fire breathing dragon. Like, it's going to happen.
She was seriously considering just flying away and ignoring them all completely. Forget promises.
Yeah, that's what I would
Okay,
do.
Kate, I'm sorry. We'll get back to what Bridget said after finishing these two theories, because I'll forget my thoughts. I'm really sorry. Anyway, we know she who remembered is following Kenneth's ship. I think when she'll meet both Paragon, and Vivacia, she'll witness that, their, what do we say, fight, collision, or whatever
Reunion.
happens between those two. Sorry, what did you say?
Reunion.
Reunion,
Yeah,
yeah.
reunion. So that happens. I think they will be able to save Wintro, but I'm not sure what will happen to Kenneth, between Kenneth and Paragon. I'll um look forward to that. But Malkin and Tangle, Malkin's Tangle, I'm more worried about that, because while traveling, I think they are very close to the river, and they also decided to eat those ships. I'm not sure they'll come across Ophelia, or the live ship who travels between Bingtown and Rainwilds. I think Kefria is planning to come via that ship to Bingtown. So
Yeah.
if they come across that ship, Kefria will die even before working as a spy. I'm really worried about that. Even after working as a spy, I don't see Kefria living through that. I'm really worried about that. But I mean, it's very horrible of me to think that, but I don't want them to attack Ophelia, because Ophelia is one happy ship. I want to stay that way. I mean, I
Kefria
really
or
don't want.
Ophelia? Oh,
Yeah, I'm realist.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I
Bridget,
think it will happen, at least one ship. And Tantaglia, I mean, she's first, now she wants to save both Rain and Malta. I think she'll be able to save Rain and Selden. I think they'll be saved. But I'm not sure about, I mean, if she saves Malta, nobody will be there left to row the boat. What will happen to Satrap and what is that girl's name? I don't remember. I don't know what will
Camilla.
happen there.
no,
Sorry?
Kiki is
Oh,
the
the other,
companion.
yeah.
Okay.
I think Bridget has
So
a good
after
point
that,
here about Vivacia, that the serpents might kill Vivacia and Kyle together, because I don't necessarily think Vivacia can come back from this. I don't
okay,
think
I'm not done. Wait.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm just gonna mute myself so I don't talk anymore.
Quick.
Okay, I am almost done. Just one point. Yes, as Bridget mentioned, I think Tantaglia is going at least going to save Kyle. I think somebody will go to that island to save Kyle. I'm not sure what will happen there. I mean, uh, I mean, there is a possibility of destroying that entire island in the process. I just hope it won't happen, because one kid will be there, toddler baby will be there. So I just hope it is not going to be a mess. And I'll leave here before talking about that setup and Jalsaid. I'll leave both Greg and Cait to talk. Go ahead.
Okay, go. I'm all set.
Have we talked you out of a
Your
thought
own.
track? I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's understandable. There is so much going on in the world. There are so many theories and predictions, and we have a lot to talk. I understand. Go ahead.
I know. No, I just think that Bridget's thought about Vivacia is fairly on the nose. Like, I haven't really thought about that until now, because it's always like, oh, you want Vivacia to be okay and you want Althea to get her happy ending where she gets to sail off on Vivacia into the sunset. But just like a person who's gone through trauma doesn't come out the other end the same, Vivacia is not going to come out the other end the same. She's already a really different ship. And I don't think, because like Derri said, she's tapped into this bloodlust and this predatory behavior that is nature to her because she is technically a dragon, well, serpent and a dragon, and serpents are predatory too. Like, she's not going to be able to rein that in. I don't think she'll ever be happy being a traitor ship again. I don't think that she'll be happy without Kenneth on there either, because she's formed such a strong bond. At this point, I think that she would survive without Wintrow. Like, I think she'd probably be okay without him. And what can possibly happen to Vivacia? Like, are you just going to let her keep being a pirate? No, she has to be destroyed somehow. And if it's the serpents eating her and taking her memories, then that happens. Maybe she'll be set on fire. Maybe she'll be set on dragon fire. I don't really know. But I will say that, you know, if they do, you know, go up the river and become dragons and all this sorts of stuff, like, I really don't want them to like swoop down and like set Jamilia on fire and set Chelsea on fire. Like, I don't want a rehash of the end of Farseer, you know, where the dragons saved the day. I feel like that I wouldn't want that to happen for this book series.
That was an interesting comment. How do you, because I was going to leave it, but you brought it up. How do you feel the serpents and the dragons and the live ships tie into the stone dragons of Farseer? And this is why I don't like people reading live ships first.
Oh, well, they explain that. They explain, Rain, like, you explain it with Rain. Like, he tells us that, like, the stone dragons were made to come to life for a short period of time. I mean, he explains that the Elderlings first did that to try to make more dragons and to have that in their land. Though I'm being completely honest. Like, I think I've told you this before, Derri. Like, I read Farseer a long, long time ago, and I did not finish my reread of Assassin's Quest.
True.
So if I am remembering things wrong, I very possibly could be, because I just have a very like vague memory of how Farseer ends. Enough where I was like, okay, I can move on to, you know, live ships and then catch up in the month we have off with Assassin's Quest. So, but I guess I thought that the stone dragons were the ones that he explains that, you know, aren't dragons for forever. They aren't like fully like born dragons like Tintaglia is. So it must mean that, you know, dragons were everywhere. And the dragons keep talking about like the three, like they're rulers of the three kingdoms or the three something or other. And I'm like, what does this mean? But unless it's land, sky, and water. I concede my time. Yeah, be in the Senate for now.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't actually have too many predictions. I flew through like the second half of this book for sure, so I didn't stop and think too much of predictions. Yeah, I don't really have too much, to be honest. I'll just enjoy the journey.
What do you think about the politics that were going on in the book and like where those will lead?
Yeah, I thought whatever David was positioning himself in like an interesting spot to be kind of like the go-between between the old traders and the new traders. I thought that was really interesting while it was going on. I don't know how it'll pan out, or you know, Cirilla's kind of power play, revenge play, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it could be interesting because we have all these underlying issues in Bingtown, and then like now we have more outsiders actually coming into town, and yeah, I have no idea what'll happen, to be honest. I didn't think about it too much.
Mm-hmm. Capitalism must fall, basically. Downfall of capitalism and imperialism in the area. Kick Jamilia and the Chalcid states out of the cursed shores and become your own independent country. Secede from the Union.
Get your pitchforks here.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's start the song.
Initially in Farseer, when they mentioned elderlings, I thought they were talking about stone dragons, but in this book, they were talking about elderlings working on stone dragons. So I I was really confused there. I think they were talking about, elderlings are the people who are making stone dragons, at least in this book. That's how they mentioned, because in that flashback chapters of Malta and Rain, Malta sees people, I mean, elderlings doing that. Stone dragons. At the same time, they were the people who constructed all those roof for these dragons cocoons and all to give birth. So I think they are different race. I'm not exactly sure. That's where the link is. So I think all those stone dragons were. Uh, what happened to those dragons uh, who flew? I mean, who became dragons at the end of Assassin's Quest? I am
They
not
flew
sure
back.
because all these.
They flew
Sorry.
back. It gets mentioned in the
Oh,
end of Assassin's Quest. They returned to the forest.
does that mean they became stones again?
Yeah.
I think they only live for a certain, like they're only awake for a certain amount of time. The elderlings, I definitely like when I first read Farseer, I was like, oh, the dragons are the elderlings. Like, yeah. But I definitely think like agree that they're this race of people that are kind of like the caretakers of the dragons, and like part of their purpose was to, you know, facilitate um this species to help it continue growing on, because as you know, people started proliferating and like coming and, you know, into their land and colonizing, you know, the dragons area, like they needed people to take care of them and to make sure that they can still reproduce and be successful.
Also, I'm really not clear on what happened in the volcano eruption, which destroyed all that land and dragons. Because I understand land being destroyed in eruption, but dragons can fly away. So, what happened to them? I really need details on that. And I wanted to talk about Amber theory. This book solidified me to that theory, because if every incident, even Amber, like fool, she saw prophecies. She talked about nine fingered slave boy, I think, which will happen in the ship of destiny. And both Malta and Brashen talked about how Amber has uh, doesn't have feminine features. And also Amber talked about seeing flying dragons. So I am thinking she is fool. I think in Ship of Magic discussion, Kai mentioned that in Assassin's Quest also, fool, in one of the scenes, fool sees a girl, uh, im, uh, he imagines himself as that girl, golden covered girl. I think there is a theory there. I'm not sure if Amber is not exactly fool, at least it is his sister, or from the same place from the fool, you
Mhm.
know where fool was from. I think there is some connection between those two. And something else I wanted to mention. Okay, Kate, you can go ahead and talk about that now. Theories about Satrap and Kels.
Oh, Satrap and Chalced, or Chalced. I just I like, part of me wants Satrap to like learn a lesson and be better and all this sorts of stuff. But I definitely don't think it's gonna happen. And I really want like Cirilla to be like good and not go down like a revenge path more than she already has. And I like want her to take over Jamilia and like make it a better country and stuff. And then they can stop having Chalced all up in their waters and stuff and keep them from invading, because I definitely think Chelsea just wants to spread across everything. But I'm not as well versed in the politics as Greg is and stuff. But I worry that there's going to be a bigger clash in Ship of Destiny, and that Chalced is going to try and like undermine everything more than the other like higher ups in Jamilia did, because I think that they're at fault for trying to kill the satrap, but Chalced is going to use all of this confusion to try to come in and like take over. If that makes sense.
Do you think Chalced people takes over a life ship and on the way to Rainwild, Malkenstangle will attack that life ship?
I mean, that's what
I will think of. I'll think of any possibility other than Ophelia and Kefria. I take it.
Ophelia and Kefria together would be, I feel like Ophelia would be like, listen, girl, we're going to have a conversation and like tell her like, this is how you need to be treated and you don't blah, blah, blah. Like she just sit there like a...
No.
School her.
Ophelia will not meet Kefria. Kefria is going to travel on other life ship, which is the life ship between. So Tangle
Must
will
be a good
attack
meeting.
one of those
together. I want them to be on the same ship. Kefria should divorce Kyle, marry Greg Tanira, and then they can live happily ever after on the Ophelia. Like, and Kefria would totally be okay with that. And then Malta can stay in the Rain Wild with Rain. And
So, there is lot of age gap between Althea and Kefria. Between Althea and Kefria, there are 3 brothers who are dead. I think so. She's not technically perfect for Greg Tanira.
I mean, but
He doesn't deserve perfect.
She's a cougar. Also, Rain is 20 and Malta's 13. So let's talk about age gaps here. But I think Ship of Destiny is going to be great. Like, I have no idea really what's going to happen at the end of this book. Like, I'm going back to the pool after we're done here, and I'm literally starting the book. Like, that's what I'm doing for the rest of the day.
I wanted to start so badly, but as I told, I forgot to. I thought I ordered a couple of months back. I forgot to order, so I placed my book depository. It still did not come yet.
No, I'm so sorry.
The horror. Oh,
I didn't read because I knew that if I knew anything that I would not be able to, and I wanted to postulate with my theories and everything because I love my theories, but there's so many juicy things that happen in Madship, and I feel like this is the book. Like, this is going to be like the best sequel I think I've ever read, like the best second book in a series. It absolutely does not have second book syndrome, like at all. If anything, like I definitely think it's better than Ship of Magic. It's my favorite book I've read all year. It's probably one of my favorite books in general. Like, the series is going up there in my top 5. But yeah, I have no idea. I have all these thoughts, but really in reality, I have no idea, because I thought I knew it was going to happen at the end of like the Books of Babel. Well, I kind of knew, but like
By the way, I think Brashen is going to die.
No, if
That's my
Brashen dies,
prediction.
I will. No, Brashen and Althea are enemies. If Brashen dies, I'm going to have words.
Cait is rioting.
I will be very mad.
See, it is Hobb. One of them has to die. I expected him to die at the end of this book, but that did not happen. But one of them has to die. Althea will be either single forever, or she has already Greg Tanira. So Brashen has to go. Go. That's it.
No. See, I think
There's some darkness in your soul, Anita.
You do, yeah. Yes. I see. The thing is, like, they can't. They're. I don't want it to happen, but like, what could possibly happen with them? They can't both be on the same ship because there's going to be a power dynamic. Because there can only be one captain. There can only be one Highlander. Like, you can't have them both. And right now,
Vivesha will die. Althea needs ship, so she will run Paragon.
No, but Paragon and Brashen are like perfect together. They're like they're just. I love them together because Brashen can like reel them in.
I don't want him to die. I love him as well, but I'm mentally preparing because otherwise I'll be crushed emotionally.
I don't think they're gonna have. I don't
That's
think they're
valid.
going to have any live ships. I don't think the live ships are going to be used for trading anymore because I'm hoping that they have like a come to Jesus moment or come to
Do you,
Saw
do you
moment
think
about how
no
they're
no 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 no
slaves.
Ooh. Do you think Malcolm Stangle will come to Bingtown Harbor and kill all those live ships who are parking there?
No, I don't mean like they're not going to be alive. I mean, that's a possibility. I think that they're not going to be used as trader vessels anymore because they're slaves. That's what they are. Like they're creatures that were born to be free. They're not this thing that people have created them to be. And so Vivacia already talks about it, like about being a slave, and like talk to Winter about it and stuff.
Okay.
So I don't think that they will use the live ships for that anymore. If anything, maybe Althea and Brashen will have 2 regular ships and go a trading together. And then it's like Helena Bonham Carter and her ex-husband, the Tim Burton. They had 2 houses, and then they had a tunnel between the 2 of them. And then they go back and forth, and they had a happy marriage. There you go. They can do that, but with 2 ships and a gangplank, you know? Yes. I don't want Brashen to die. I'll be so mad. What would the body
Greg is fidgeting. He wants to finish off this live show. I can see that in his face.
Yeah, I'm tired. I need my mid-Sunday nap.
You already have a blanket. I'm surprised you're not asleep.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that
Okay,
that does
anyone
seem like
else
a good.
in the audience? Do you
Wait,
guys
hold
have
on.
any thoughts?
What were you saying, Greg?
I was just gonna say, yeah, that does seem like a good place to wrap up.
Oh. I don't know who else is here still, but
Channing's here.
Channing is always here. Channing will always be here if you're on the live stream, Greg.
Yes,
He's the
that's
biggest
true.
fan.
Super fan. The original Greg.
Who do you
And the
think's
original
gonna die?
Greg. What?
Who do you think's gonna
Ooh.
die?
Oh, I don't know. Everyone. No, I don't know. Someone will die.
Kenneth.
There's definitely going to be a bunch of sadness in this book, but just because I feel like that's the way it's going. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, no happy endings. That's my prediction. Hopefully the Satrap dies. He should die.
Mhm.
But it'll
Cyrilla
just
should
be
kill
him
him.
alive. That's how it's going to end.
How should Kyle die?
Serpents.
A lot of options. Eaten by serpents.
Yep.
Pushed into water filled with serpents by his wife. That would be very gratifying.
Yes.
Created just off him.
You know, I would rather prefer he changes for the good.
Yeah,
Not
that's
exactly good, but at least I don't know. I mean, it is not possible, but I would rather prefer that than death.
Kyle is Professor Umbridge, and Professor Umbridge was taken away by centaurs to be raped and murdered. So,
But
he's
she
not gonna
came
have a
back.
good ending. Huh?
But she came back.
Ugh. Well, I feel like Kyle's too far gone. Kyle and Kenneth are too far gone. Kyle has not been humbled by anything Kenneth has done. I am gonna mute myself again, stop talking, because I'm gonna
So Greg can wind it up.
so Greg can go take his nap.
And then you can go and sit by the pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a great 2 hours. Yeah, you guys can talk more on my Discord. I will probably start like next week, I think, if I had to guess.
Derri, don't go. I have to ask you something after the live,
Okay.
actually. I don't want everyone to get spoiled. Once we are off live, I'll ask you something.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be doing this again.
Thank you guys for
next
joining.
month on Anitha's
Bye.
channel. Bye.
Yes.
Hey,
Bye,
hey,
everyone.
when?